Hello, I'd like to call to order the November 12th, 2019 License Board hearing. Susan, can you please call the roll?
Director Duca.
Present.
Deputy Chief Jackson.
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Chief Keenan.
Here.
Chief Keenan, there he is. Clerk Crispa.
Present. And now I will read into the record the open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. And first on the agenda this evening, we have a hearing regarding the request of the United First Parish Church at 1306 Hancock Street for a special use permit, one-day beer and wine license for Remembering Abigail at 275, event at the church on November 22nd from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the applicant, Bob Damon, is unable to attend our meeting today. The application is complete. The recipients of 100 plus and, reception of 100 plus, and it will be catered by Craig's Cafe.
And they do have one.
And they do have a beer and wine at Craig's. Are there any questions or concerns from anyone in the audience? Seeing none, board members, any questions or concerns with the United First Parish Church holding a special use one-day beer and wine license for Remembering Abigail 275?
I'd like to make a motion to grant the request of the United First Parish Church, 1306 Hancock Street, for a special use permit one-day beer wine license for their Remembering Abigail at 275 event at the church on November 22nd from 7 to 9 p.m., represented by Bob Damon.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, passed. Agenda item number 2, hearing regarding the request of Atrius Health for a special use permit, one-day beer and wine license for networking event at the Atrium at 1250 Hancock Street on November 20th from 5 to 8:30 p.m. The Townsend will cater the event, and Famita Esquire and Madeline Connaughton.
I think it's Fatima, that's
Fatina?
Fatima.
Fatima.
Yeah. She's here.
Hi Fatima, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Can you please tell us a little bit about your event?
It's a social networking event for the primary care and specialty providers over at Atrius Health and for the region, sub-region.
So it's a private event?
Yes,
And how many participants?
40.
40 participants?
Yep.
And does anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns with the Atrius Health for a special use one-day beer and wine for networking event at 1250 Hancock Street on November 20th from 5 to 8:30 p.m.? Seeing none, board members?
I just have one question. The Townsend does not have a catering license. They have a license, but they don't have a catering license with the health department, so we should reach out to the Townsend and have them call the health department. We're happy to help them with that.
So contingent on a health permit for catering?
Yep.
Looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the request of Atrius Health for a special use permit one-day beer wine license for a networking event in the Atrium at 1250 Hancock Street on November 20th from 5 to 8:30 p.m. The Townsend will cater the event, represented by Fatima Squires, Madeline Connaughton, contingent upon a permit from the health department for a catering license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're all set, thank you. Number 3 on the agenda, hearing regarding the request of the Marymount Association for a special use permit for the annual turkey trot on Thanksgiving morning, November 28th from 7 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Kathleen O'Brien. Kathleen O'Brien is not here. However, we do have their application here for the annual turkey trot. They have done this in the past, and everything seems to be in order. Any questions or concerns from anybody in the audience?
I would just like to make a point that they failed to show up last time too, and I would appreciate it if they came next time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none.
Do they have food at this event?
No, I don't believe they do.
No, no
Okay.
I think it's
food.
just a quick road race.
Okay,
yeah.
They've done
thank
it, we've assisted many, many years from the...
Okay, thank you.
No road closures. They do have water, one water stop. Looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the request of the Marymount Association for a special use permit for their annual turkey trot on Thanksgiving morning, November 28th, from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., represented by Kathleen O'Brien.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good memory, John.
Next on the agenda is agenda item number 4, hearing regarding the request of the Social YMCA for a special use permit for their 9th annual Frozen 5K on January 5th, 2020, from 7 a.m. till noon. Thomas Haley. Come on up. Hi, how are you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your event?
So this is our 9th year of doing the South Shore YMCA Frozen 5K, sponsored by Trigger Burke. All proceeds go to our annual support campaign, which then goes back out to our, for those that are in special need of assistance for the South Shore YMCA.
Is it the same route?
It's the same route, yeah. It goes, starts on, I'm sorry, I'm losing.
Coddington?
On Coddington Street, goes over Route 3A, and then right down C Street, goes up to the library, loops around, and comes right back. We usually block off the right lane with the traffic detail police, and then everybody stays in that. Traffic kind of continues to flow. But the race will go off at about 9:30. Our registration starts about 7 a.m.
How many runs do you anticipate?
We anticipate about 400 to 500 runners.
Any questions or concerns from anyone in the audience regarding the Social YMCA special use permit for 9th annual Frozen 5K on January 5th? Seeing none, board members,
Do you serve any food at this
No.
event? No?
No.
Okay, thank you.
looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the request of the South Shore YMCA for a special use permit for their 9th annual Frozen 5K on January 5th, 2020, from 7 a.m. to noon, represented by Thomas Healy.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
You're all set, thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5, hearing regarding the request of the Quincy Farmers Market and the South Shore YMCA for a common victular license to hold a winter market at the South Shore YMCA at 79 Coddington Street on Friday from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. beginning December 6th until February 14th, 2020. Janet Little. Thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the winter market?
Okay. Well, for many years now, the vendors have been interested in going, into the winter. And so we have about 16 vendors that have made a commitment of one sort or another, and probably 3 or 4 more that I haven't heard from, and a few more that I'm going to reach out to. Of the vendors, 8 of them will be agricultural vendors, which is the purpose of a farmer's market. We will have produce, we'll have microgreens, organic greens from Milton. Fishmonger, the New England fishmonger, is going to come to the market. He's the real thing. He fishes with hook and bleeds his fish at sea so that they're the freshest and best quality fish you can have. We also will have a beef farmer from Stony Creek Farm down in Dartmouth. We're going to have a hippie pilgrim who does salts, harvests salts, and makes garlic salts. And Golden Rule Honey will be there. Golden Rule Honey has honey from Vermont, Arizona, and several local places, including Leominster, where she lives, Jamaica Plain, and and can't remember the other places, but 3 or 4 places that are local. And we'll have an alpaca farm. The alpaca Ponderosa will be there, and she'll be selling wool products. She has a farm in Middleborough. She has a dozen alpacas, and she has them, the wool she had offer them, and then she brings product to the farmer's market to sell. We'll have several added value products, including a French baker, an Italian baker, a Greek baker, a cupcake woman, Townie frozen ice cream, they do vegan ice cream, a frozen yogurt vendor, a jam person, a person that does Italian pastas and sauces, as well as a woman who does a collection of things, including granola and cheesecake. I'm hoping to have 3 or 4 more vendors. I'll reach out to them after we have the license.
It's in the parking lot, I assume?
No, it's in the conference room. That's why it's going to be indoors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Indoors at the Y, the conference room.
So you'll need to do, like you do for the farmer's market, the licenses come into, you do a great job for the
Yeah, I've
farmer's
already
market.
spoken with Michelle, and
Great.
as soon as we send out the information and get all the paperwork back, we'll bring it up to
Great.
Michelle, and she'll give us the licenses.
Excellent.
And we have a liability license at the market with the Y listed as well.
You're going to have the wine, too? Winery this year, too?
No, we didn't have wine this year either. The one winery that we had actually won a big grant to compete with Napa Valley, so they're not doing farmers markets as much.
Any questions or concerns from anyone in the audience? Dave McCarthy.
Dave McCarthy, 48 Whitney Road, Ward 1 Councilor. Just support. Janet does a great job. The farmers market, as you folks all know, and the winter version, as Janet just reeled off that menu that I wouldn't be able to repeat. But it's quite a menu. It better be a big conference room. But I'm sure it will work out great down there. So I support it fully. Glad to have her in Ward 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns from anyone in the audience? Seeing none. Board members? Looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the request of the Quincy Farmers Market and the South Shore YMCA for a common victualler license to hold a winter market at the South Shore YMCA, 79 Coddington Street, on Fridays from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. beginning December 6, 2019, until February 14, 2020, represented by Janet Little.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just as an aside, I'd like to thank you and the farmers market for allowing our offices, our female offices, to go down and sell some police merchandise. They actually raised, we're going to do a check presentation right after this, over $11,000 for Marissa's Mission in Braintree that assists families with cancer. So thank you very much.
They're welcome every year.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to having them.
Good luck.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6, hearing regarding the request of the House Sandwich for a common victualler license for a sandwich shop at the premise located at 716 Hancock Street. Proposed manager Chai Chung. Proposed hours of operation 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Chai Chung representing. Hi, how are
Good morning,
you?
Your Honor. Good morning. Good afternoon.
How are
I'm here
you?
to, great, thank you. I'm here to interpret and help my client here. She's proposing to make use of the current space, which is being used as a real estate office, and she's really subleasing part of that, and so the uses will be changed to a sandwich shop, a takeout sandwich shop.
And is this food going to be cooked on premise? Is there food cooked?
Yes, the food will be cooked on premise. Warm up toy. I mean, it's just warmed up there, but it'll be cooked somewhere else.
Where?
Nấu đâu? Okay. She said that she buys it from different vendors and she reheats it to serve it.
Okay, any questions, concerns from anybody in the audience? Seeing none, board members?
Hi. Couple of questions. The health department, we received the plans, and we have a couple of questions with that, a couple of issues with it. It looks like in the plans that we got that the kitchen is going to be downstairs in the basement? Is that true?
Yeah. Sorry, ma'am, it's not obvious from this, the sketch here, but the basement will be used for storage, and upstairs is where the kitchen will be. As
Okay.
you can see, the serving preparation counters.
Because it doesn't, the plans don't reflect
Right.
that. So
Yes, I agree.
I think that I would be more comfortable if we could have the health inspector, one of our food inspectors, come down and look at the site.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly where you're going to have what you have
Yes,
on
ma'am.
on these plans, because it looks like on these plans that there's a set of stairs that go down.
Right.
And that's where it says kitchen, and we don't allow kitchens in the basement
Right.
in Quincy. So if you could make contact with one of our health inspectors.
Sure.
And have them come down and look, and maybe we could get a better set of plans that
Absolutely.
reflect.
We'll resubmit
Yeah.
better plans.
Yeah, that would be great.
With clear delineation of what the dimensions of the kitchens. And
Yeah, and where the
What-
kitchen's going to
second
be,
level,
because we
lower
would not allow it in the lower level.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
we'll do that. We'll arrange for inspection from the health department, as well as resubmit plans.
Yes, and thank you, another issue, with a list of the vendors where the food is coming from, because your vendors have to be from approved sources. We don't allow vendors from any home kitchens, so we'd need to know where the food is coming from that you're going to be heating up. Okay?
When did you plan on opening?
I think now we'll know. I'm sorry, it's interpreted.
That's okay.
Whenever, as she said that, whenever the city gives her the approvals and permits, she would open within a week or two after that.
Does she have to do any construction? I'm assuming you'd have to do some construction?
Sửa chứ đừng hầm mấy ngày, tuần 2 tuần 3 ngày. She really, it's minimal work, it's about 3 weeks or so, she estimates.
Okay, so we do have 2 meetings scheduled in December. Perhaps we clear up the health concerns and come back?
I think that's a great idea. I'd be more comfortable that, and if you have to do any construction, put in sinks, because right now it's a real estate office.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no food establishment there, so I'm assuming there'd have to be some sort of construction in there with
Yes.
hand washing sinks and...
With all approvals,
and- Yeah,
yes.
and so you need to have approval through the building department and the health department, so, yeah, I'd be happy if we could...
There is December 10th and December 17th to continue till.
17 tháng 4. Phải lại đây lại nữa, tại ta sửa hết, tôi nói với ấy, ta nói, ta cấp cho, không cho. 17 thay mà 12, 10 thay, which one? Kịp không 10 thay kịp không? So December 10th would be great for us. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. December 10th. So looking for a motion to continue the hearing for House Sandwich to December 10th.
I'd like to make a motion to continue the case of the House Sandwiches for a common victular license to December 10th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
on the 10th. Agenda item number 7, hearing regarding the request of Top Limo Service at 100 Cove Way for a livery license for one vehicle, Massport permit to allow access to Logan Airport. Eunice Hashkem.
Or something like that.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Can you please state your name for the record?
Eunice Hashkazem.
Hashkazem.
Yes.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit what your plan is for your limo
But
service?
I just create this company for a limo service. I just gonna have a regular car, small car, luxury one. So
Just a Cadillac or?
a Cadillac, yes.
A Cadillac?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Just to do the airport trips?
Yes.
You need the permit for the airport trips?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, anybody have any questions or concerns regarding Top Limo Service at 100 Cove Way for a livery license to go for Massport to allow access to Logan Airport? Seeing none, board members, seeing none, Looking for a motion.
Where is the vehicle going to be parked tonight?
In my parking lot.
Where is that?
100 Coveway.
Is that your residence?
Yes,
That's
I
where you
got
live?
my own spot, yeah.
And you live there? That's-
Yes, sir, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? To make a motion to grant the request of Top Limo Service, 100 Cove Way, for a livery license for one vehicle for Massport permit to allow access to Logan Airport, represented by Eunice Hedge-Cadam.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're all set.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Number 8, hearing regarding the request of CP Quincy LLC, doing business as Boston Marriott Quincy Hotel, for a change of manager from Ian Largos to Todd Rakelt for the premise located at 100 Marriott Drive. Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Very good, thank you. We have a change of manager at the Marriott?
Yes, I've been named the manager, so I asked the board to consider putting my name down as the manager in regard to the liquor license.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns with the change of manager at the Marriott Hotel? Seeing none, board members?
Have you been the manager up there prior to this?
I just started about a month and a half ago.
With the company or with Quincy?
No, I've been with the company 12 years.
And you managed other?
I managed the Marriott in Albany, New York.
Oh, okay.
Will the emergency contact remain the same for that, or would you?
It would be me.
It would be you, so could you furnish the health department with that information?
Absolutely.
The police as well?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've already contacted the fire department, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Everything else is in order here on the application, and just looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the request of CP Quincy LLC, DBA Boston Marriott Quincy Hotel, for a change of manager from Ian Lagros to Todd Reichelt for the premises located at 1000 Marriott Drive, represented by Tom Reichelt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, good luck.
Good luck. Agenda item number 9, hearing regarding the requested 99 Restaurant of Boston LLC, doing business as 99 Restaurant and Pub, for an officer's change and a change of beneficial interest for the premise located at 59 Newport Ave. These changes have been granted preliminary approval of the ABCC at this change effects at 65 Massachusetts locations. So the ABCC has already made their approvals and just needs a vote from us to substantiate that. So just looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion regarding the request of 99 Restaurants of Boston LLC, DBA 99 Restaurant and Pub, for an officer change and change in beneficial interest for the premises located at 59 Newport Ave. These changes have been granted preliminary approval by the ABCC, as this change affects all 65 Massachusetts locations.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All set, thank you. Next is agenda item number 10, continued hearing from October 22nd regarding the request of Deacon Transportations, Inc., doing business as Old Town Trolley Tours, for a fuel storage license and an automotive repair license for the premise located at 199 Commander Shea Boulevard. Proposed manager Robert Gibson and represented by attorney Edward Fleming.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Edward Fleming. I'm here on behalf of Deacon Transportation, which is DBA Old Town Trolley. I'm joined today by Chris Compton and Ted Gallo from the applicant. Mr. Gallo and Mr. Compton can answer any questions about operational issues or questions that the board may have. As you know, Madam Chair, this is a continuation of the last board meeting, during which we made a full presentation of the proposal at that time. And as you indicated, we're here for two requests. One for a fuel storage license to essentially replace the underground gasoline tanks that are on the site with a new above-ground diesel fuel tank, which will be located in the corner of the building. The gas tanks will be removed from the site. I know we spoke with the fire department last time, and the chief indicated his preference that those tanks be removed from the underground oil tanks, be removed, not just discontinued. We've spoken with the ownership about that, and the ownership will undertake the removal of those tanks. My client, Deacon Transportation Old Town Trolley, is actually leasing the site at 199 Commander Shea Boulevard. And it's essentially a continuing use. Since 2007, Fallon Ambulance has leased the site from Hudson News distributors for the purposes of storing their ambulances at the site. They also had a repair license issued to Central Ave Auto, and Central Ave Auto repaired the ambulance vehicles as well as repairing other vehicles at the site. My client is now seeking to essentially replace Fallon as the occupant of the building and store their trolleys in the building as opposed to the ambulances. And they're seeking a secondary repair license, which they intend to segregate and separate a section of the building for the purposes of that new repair license so that they can use that repair license for the repair of their trolleys. Central Ave Auto will remain in the front of the site as it does today. And the remaining portion of the building, a significant, large portion of the building, will be utilized simply for the vehicles to sleep, as my client indicated to the neighbors during the neighborhood meeting. Since the last meeting that we were here, there was a concern about the adequacy of notice to the community, and so we continued this matter to today. We sent out about 328 certified mailing notices to all of the residential abutters, all the condominium abutters. In addition to that notice, we sent out a personal letter from my client explaining their business and their proposal. And we reached out to Councilor Harris, who through his assistance, set up and arranged a neighborhood meeting that was held on November 7th. At the Quincy Elder Services building. We had an opportunity to discuss the neighbors' concerns at that time. A number of neighbors appeared, mostly condominium owners in the area, about 10 to 12 neighbors, and concerns and were expressed about similar concerns that were expressed during the Fallon ambulance proposal back in 2007. Issues related to safety and noise and lighting and traffic. And my clients were there, Mr. Gallo, as well as other members of the organization, and we spent about an hour talking with the neighbors, answering questions, and agreeing to certain conditions of any approval that this board may grant to my client's application for the licenses. And the things that we talked about primarily really was a concern about noise and interference with the residential neighbors. All of their questions were valid and reasonable concerns. I think that after we had that discussion for about an hour, I can say that a number of neighbors indicated to me that they were quite happy with the responses that they got from the applicant. But we agreed to a number of different conditions, and I'll list them out here, although there may be additional that the neighbors may raise when they speak today. One, there was a concern about the loitering of some of the employees of Fallon Ambulance after hours, later in the night, and that the sound from their loitering in the parking lot could be heard in the neighbor's residence. We agreed that none of the employees would be allowed to loiter outside the premises after hours. In fact, my client made clear after their employees drive for an hour, usually on these tours, the last thing they want to do is talk anymore and they want to go home. So, but we agreed that there would be a break room within the facility that would allow them to stay within there if they stayed after hours, or not after hours, but after they checked in their trolleys. But there would be no loitering at all on the premises to avoid the noise. We talked about the parking lot and building lighting. I think the lighting that exists on the premises right now sometimes shines in the neighbors' yards. My client indicated they're going to do a number of cosmetic repairs to the building, and one of those repairs will be to address lighting, to ensure that the parking lot and building lighting will not shine in the neighbors' yards. There would be appropriate signage provided so that they would have contact information for anyone who is responsible for the building. Mr. Gibson, who was here last time, was also at the neighborhood meeting. He will be hands-on at the building because he handles a lot of the maintenance and repair of the vehicles. And he will be the contact person. And as he indicated, he will have a cell phone number available to neighbors in the area to call him if there's any issues or any concerns. Mr. Gibson also indicated that unlike Fallon Ambulance, which fueled all the vehicles in the morning, and that would often cause a line of vehicles at the pump in the morning, all of these vehicles will be fueled when they return in the evening at 7 o'clock. And if we're permitted to do so, we'd like to fuel the vehicles within the corner, inside the building, in the corner of the building. It's a diesel tank. I know the chief indicated he had less concerns about the flammability of the diesel fuel. But if that's not allowed, we'd like to fuel the vehicles outside on the corner of the building. This will be done at night, so it will avoid a backup of vehicles in the morning. And that was a concern one of the neighbors raised about seeing a line of ambulances idling while they were fueling. None of the vehicles will idle or be permitted to idle outside in the parking lot. All the vehicles will actually be started inside the building. And they have the appropriate venting mechanisms, and that will all be worked out with the building department and the health department to ensure that the appropriate ventilation. These are very clean burning diesel engines. They're newer engines, and Mr. Gibson, who's not here today because he's away at a meeting, office meeting, he will detail that and provide more details about the clean burning fuel. We also talked about the fact that unlike Fallon Ambulance, which is a 24-hour operation, which had vehicles coming back and leaving the site at late hours, the majority of vehicles leaving or returning to this site will do so between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Although they said there's some vehicles are leased out for private use at night and will occasionally come back at night, the majority of vehicles will be leaving and coming back to the building during those hours. And we also talked, I think, in this is a substantial concern of some of the neighbors, is about the traffic that over the Neponset Bridge in the morning hours. And we talked about the ability to stagger the vehicles leaving the site so that it wouldn't interfere with the existing congestion. And my clients agreed that they will change their hours or adjust their hours of operation that would allow them to cause most of the trolley vehicles to leave the building at 9 o'clock or later. Some of the vehicles do need to leave in the early morning hours. Their hope and intent would be to get them out before the heavy rush hour between 7 and 9, so they would leave almost immediately at 7 o'clock hour. And that would be limited to about 6 vehicles. So only about 6 vehicles would leave at that time, and the remaining vehicles will leave at 9 or later. The hope in doing that would be that it would alleviate, or not alleviate congestion, but it wouldn't interfere and cause further congestion. Certainly on that no-name road is where some of the neighbors indicated some concerns. We think it was a great meeting. It was a cordial meeting. We had some great questions and answers provided, and we're hopeful that the majority of the neighbors' concerns were addressed. We know they weren't all addressed. And I know that council is here and likely has also received emails from some people that couldn't attend the meeting. But I'm hopeful that that was the gist of the majority of concerns that were raised, even in the email communications. We're confident that this is it's a better operation than even existed before. And again, without getting into the details of the use of this site, since 1970, this was a commercially used site. It was used by delivery services that had much larger 18-wheeler trucks parked at the site, and it was always used for this type of use. The zoning continues to be a commercially zoned district. We believe that this is really just a continuation of the similar use. And I know there's some neighbors here. Katie is here from the neighborhood who expressed that she and others, some other residents, believe that it was actually a better use because of the hours of operation, because of the seasonal nature of the business as well. One of the things my client talked about is that in the winter months, there's far fewer vehicles even being used or leaving the site. And it really changes the volume of activity at this building. So that's the applicant's presentation. We can certainly answer any questions about the details. I'll just mention again, this was a 3,000-gallon tank. It was a double-walled tank, and it's above-ground diesel storage only. There's no gasoline on the site. There's 38 foot of blooming oil absorption. It has some safety features relative to overfill alarm and leaking alarm that actually triggers a cell phone if there's a leak detected in the tank that calls the management. There's only, I think, 5 or 7 different people within the organization that are allowed to operate the tanks to fill the vehicles. This is not, none of the drivers are allowed to fill the vehicles. So there's a lot of safety measures in place. The organization has been operating from Boston for a number of years. I can't remember the numbers of gallons. Millions of gallons of diesel fuel have been used to fill the tanks of all the trolleys that have been operating in Boston for those years, and there has never been a leak. They've never had an incident or an emergency where there's been a leak or any problem. So we're confident that this is going to be a safe and a good use for the site, and that they'll be a great neighbor. This is a national company, professional company, with a lot of professional folks that are, 2 of which are whom are here today. They're going to be very responsive to the neighbors' concerns. None of the traffic is going to be going through Quincy. One of the neighbors talked about whether or not the vehicles would go into Marina Bay or travel the opposite direction on the street. None of that will happen here. These vehicles are being utilized solely for trips to Boston. So they'll go to Boston, they'll do their tours, and then they'll return to this, as they said, for the purposes of storage and sleep. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone in the audience have any comments, questions, concerns? Come on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Katie Donnelly, and I'm at 90 Quincy Shore Drive, which is Seawinds. So I was at that meeting on Thursday, and I've looked into this a lot, and I've talked to many residents at Seawinds, which is actually the property that abuts this as much. My unit stack actually looks right over where the ambulances refill now. So I was the one who brought up the fact that I hear them coming back at midnight. I'm on the 8th floor, and I can still hear them chatting and making noise as they do pretty much all summer. But I'm also the chair of the board at Seawinds, and I've talked to many people who really agree with this transition and really agree with Old Town Trolley. It's not going to be very different than what we currently have with the ambulance company, except for what I look at as a great environmental move, getting those 20-year-old tanks out of the ground and putting new tanks in, as well as people who have promised us that they're going to have on-site maintenance. I've actually received information from Bob, his contact information, and they do, I believe, want to be good neighbors. The other thing that has been discussed from people in my building is if people keep fighting transportation companies coming in there, what's going to happen? If we end up with a high-rise with 250 cars, what's the traffic going to look like there? And that's a major concern of people who live on that side of the building. I have some more notes, but the majority of the board has agreed with this project. I haven't really spoken with anybody who hasn't. There was one person at the meeting last time who said, and I quote, "I don't want to see anything go there." And we know that's not reality. So I'd rather have good neighbors than a 5-year construction project and another 250 cars, as opposed to maybe 25 trolleys in the summer and 8 in the winter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Councilor Harris. I will also note, while Councilor Harris is coming forward, that I did receive 5 letters for the record, which you will all get a copy of, in opposition of the trolley, Old Town Trolley tours being at that site. please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Crispo. This is my first time in front of you folks. So, at the meeting, and I understand the concern of Seawinds, the board, about the fact that they're worried about something else going up next to it, but the surrounding neighbors, I mean, the majority of correspondence and the majority at the end of the meeting, who stopped and spoke with me, were not for it. And there's a lot of concerns, and I have a lot of concerns, because not only is it the Seawinds and the other Edgewater, those groups, and Lunenburg Square, those places, but we're talking about 47 trolleys, and I don't know if anybody has seen the trolleys, but I saw them firsthand Friday, the day after the meeting, as I was crossing the Fort Point Channel Bridge, going to a meeting. I saw them actually in two spots, one by the, one going one direction, the other one going far enough over, it was 2 bridges away over where the milk bottle is and the tea party is, and I could hear them. And I don't think you really know the noise until you firsthand hear them. And the size of the vehicle. And one of the letters that I think you've received also mentioned the fact that we have a school bus pickup right around 8 o'clock in the morning, right at the bottom of the no-name road. And anybody who's come out of Marina Bay and tried to enter onto, especially in bad weather, enter the no-name road to get onto this into the city, that's going to be a very difficult challenge. And that evening, which wasn't mentioned, that evening the question was asked, did you test, did you do a trial run? And that didn't take place. So what's concerning to me, and also concerning to other members of my constituents outside of the abutters, is that Long Island, I mean, talk about a bridge problem, the Neponset River Bridge in the morning, the problem is getting over that. And things don't really slow down much at 9 o'clock, especially when there's weather. And it goes sometimes right to 10 o'clock, depending on the day of the week. Yeah, Fridays are sometimes a little easier. Mondays are tough, whenever there's weather. And again, I'm also concerned, though, because there was an article in the Sun that spoke of the meeting. I also received calls and conversations when I've met folks that read the article, that were concerned, very much concerned about the traffic added on to it. You should see the size of these buses and the sound they make. And for public safety, my concern is especially that 8 o'clock bus where we're picking up kids. My concern is, which I already have, that doesn't involve old-time trolleys, but involves FedEx. Now, we have these FedEx trucks that are barreling down that road as well. That's going to be addressed by me probably at the next city council meeting. A lot of folks reaching out to me about that. So we're adding more on. One thing, the difference between Fallon and the difference between these vehicles, Fallon, every vehicle didn't go over that no-name road. Some of them went straight and went down the South Shore through Hancock Street via the highway, via going straight, going past North Quincy Station. So I guess what I said in my letter to my constituents, if there was one person who was against it, and the percentage, again, I wish the folks that you spoke with from your board and all the members of your building, I wish they reached out to me, because...
Some did.
Huh?
Some of them assured me that they did.
Yeah, I mean, I only have one positive and 3 negative, and you have 5 negatives, right?
I do, yes.
So, I mean, my email is public record, it's right on there. So, I mean, I wouldn't say if it wasn't. I do know there was two of you folks at the meeting that said yes, that you were afraid of a high rise. But again, that can be dealt with as well as time goes on. You just can't build a high rise. So I said in my email, my letter to my constituents that if there was anybody who was against this, I was going to be against it. And I have more than just the abutters that are against it. I wouldn't doubt that most of the folks who travel that bridge in the morning would be against it. So, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the project at 199 Commander Shea Boulevard?
I just have a question, Jay, did they...
Can you please come to the podium and
I'm sorry.
your name and address?
You want to be on cable, John?
John Rutherford, 8 Jackson Street, Taunton. Did they say when they leave, are they going to be going left or right?
Depends on which way you're looking at it.
Like Councilor Harris, like when they leave, are they going to be going towards Boston?
Yes.
They're only going to Boston, John.
So I'm just thinking this in the morning, if that's all bumper-to-bumper traffic there, where no one can get out, am I right that someone's gonna have to like actually let the trolley out? I can see people like are nice and they'll let the school bus out because people love kids. But are the same people gonna actually let this trolley out, you know? So it might be an issue where, you know, because I was thinking personally myself, it is, you know, it's up to the operator. If they want to rent there, and if the people that own the building want to rent to the operator, they have the right to do that. But you can't get over that bridge in the morning. So to want to just like have that trolley parked on the bridge every morning, it is going to make a lot of people like maybe not like that trolley in Quincy. But just my point. So I support Councilor Harris.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So at this time, I would like to look for a motion with a roll call vote. Yes, please.
A question for the councilor. If you guys had conversations with the chief and with fire prevention, we're in possession of like cut sheets on this tank and exactly like the fire protection.
We spoke generally with the chief, and we also spoke with Captain Keaveney.
Yeah.
But those, a lot of the details relative to the building and the tank haven't been provided because we didn't have that detail yet. We're in such a preliminary stage relative to the design.
Okay.
So once we have the design features, we'll certainly have meetings with the chief and Captain Keaveney or fire prevention.
Okay.
Yeah. And with regard to the traffic, and the only comment I can make is my client said if it's not operational, then they're going to have to adjust their schedule accordingly. So for example, if they have difficulty getting out and they're stuck in traffic for longer periods of time, they'll adjust their schedule moving forward to Boston so that it won't interfere with the traffic there, but it also won't hold up their drivers for a period of time. They'd rather have their drivers being paid while they're in Boston than on the highway to Boston.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion.
I'd just like to make a comment before I make a motion.
Please do.
This commercial place has been there for many years, and prior to that, in the early 2000s, I remember fielding a lot of calls for noises because of the company that was there years ago. I kind of think that this use is less of an impact to the neighbors, and the reality is something's going to go there eventually. And we can't expect, or I don't think I would expect somebody to solve the traffic problems. I know a coffee shop tried to go in, down by the dry cleaners. It's just a bad intersection, and I don't know that the traffic problem will ever be solved. But I do think it's the least impact that I've seen come along. So having said that, I will make a motion to grant the request of the Deacon Transportation, Inc., DBA Old Town Trolley Tours for a fuel storage license and an automotive repair license for the premises located at 199 Commander Shea Boulevard. Proposed manager is Robert Gibson, represented by attorney Edward Fleming.
Second.
Roll call vote
Roll
on
call,
that,
please.
Director Duca.
Yes.
Deputy Chief Jackson.
No.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Chief Keenan.
Yes.
Clerk Crispo.
No.
3-2 in favor.
3-2 in favor. Passes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Looking for a motion to waive the reading and approve minutes from the previous hearing.
Make a motion to waive.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And our next scheduled meeting is November 19th, 2019. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Aye. This concludes the License Board hearing on November 12th. Thank you.